Hello, Toy Collector fans. Universal Toy Collector here, and welcome to the channel. And welcome to Toy Photographers Showcase. Righty ho then. So Toy Photographers Showcase is where we invite a guest on and he talks us through his top 5 personal favorite toy photos that he's taken himself. And to help me do this, I'm delighted to welcome my co-host, Mark BobaHicks. Hello, sir. How are you? Long time no see.
All good, all good.
Yeah.
Ready to check out some cool photos.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, talking of photos, you are a keen toy photographer yourself, and as I was saying in the green room, I was looking through your Instagram yesterday, and some of the artwork, not the artwork, the photography that you've taken, absolutely fantastic. What buzz do you get out of taking toy photography? We'll just ask you that question if that's okay.
Man, it's kind of hard to describe. The closest thing I could probably compare it to would be actually playing with my toys as a kid.
Yeah,
Because it's you're more or less doing the same type of thing. You know, you're in my case, I'm going outside into my back garden. I'm taking a bunch of toys with me. I'm setting them up, I'm knocking them down, I'm putting them back up again, and you're just generally messing around with everything before you even take the photo.
yeah,
So you kind of really are playing with your toys. You're kind of using your imagination to set up the scene first of all in your mind, and then you're trying to put it into practice. You know, to take the photo. So
mm.
yeah, in terms of a buzz, if I was to compare it to any type of buzz, it would be that childhood feeling of playing with my toys.
How challenging is it for you? Because I know you like doing a lot of your toy photography outside in the natural element. So is there a downside to that? Is there an upside to that?
Yeah, it's got its ups and its downs. So obviously if the weather is terrible, then first of all you can't go outside because you know who wants to go out in the wind and the rain and take photos of toys. Um where I live, it's actually in a valley, so it can get quite windy,
Yeah,
especially in the winter time. So you do have to be careful even on a clear day that if you're taking out a figure and you have it set up, especially where I take my photos, it's usually around kind of a rock pile and it's kind of pretty high off the ground. You just have to be kind of quick on your toes because if a gust of wind comes and knocks your neck a predator over, it could be curtains. You know, once
yeah,
those
yeah.
things hit the ground, they shatter into a million
Well,
pieces. So
yeah, I was going to say because the NECA toys are quite can be quite fragile at times, can't they?
yeah, but you know, apart from that, it's mostly fun. You do get the odd look from the next door neighbor, kind of wondering why is Mark out in the garden, you know, tying a little
Yeah,
predator toy to a tree. But you know,
yeah. Does it worry
I'm
you
not
what people
exactly.
think, or you just quite blasé and just quite happy to crack on with it?
I'm pretty happy to crack on with it. You know, when I first started doing it, it was a little bit odd, or I'd feel a little bit odd sometimes. Like I remember
Yeah,
I was down at the beach and I was, you know, looking for a good spot to get the water in the background. You know, people are like walking their dogs and they like see
yeah.
this grown man setting up dinosaurs on a bunch of rocks, you know. So,
Awesome.
but look, you know, after a while, you just kind of you don't even think about it anymore, and you
Yeah,
just kind of go ahead and do it. And these days, you know, I'm lucky enough where I live. It's fairly rural and relatively quiet, so I'm not exactly inundated with passers-by, so I can get away with a lot without being noticed.
no, awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. Right, well, like I said, we have a guest, and yeah, I'm delighted to welcome him back to the channel, and it is Mate Mylar. How are you doing, sir?
I'm very well. Thanks again for having me, and nice to meet you, Mark.
Great to meet you, mate.
No, it's an absolute pleasure. And I know we chatted at some point last year on My Collecting Life. And I have to say, you know, your toy photography, I think is really well. I love it. I love it. So what you've done then is you've given us 6 of your favorites. One is an honorable mention, and shall we crack on with that one?
Yeah, let's do that.
Let's do that. So we'll crack on with this, and this is your honorable mention. So, yeah, if you want to talk us through this picture, I mean, I absolutely, I think it's fantastic. Why is this one not made your top 5?
I mean, this one is an honorable mention because the way there's just something about it. It just popped. It has that, like the rim lights and everything are defining the jet really nice. The explosion turned out beautifully.
Yeah.
This was like one of maybe 150, 200 shots that I took, and this one just kind of popped. And this is my childhood X30. With all the parts and pieces and everything. So I was a little bit late for the Sky Striker, but I managed to get this at Christmas. I think it was 86, Christmas
Okay.
base. So yeah, this is the honorable mention just for that reason alone. Like I said, I could try and chase this look and try and recreate this, but yeah, just something about the way the sun was. Now, I am inside, but I do a lot of my photos in front of a big picture window, and then I have a black hung in front of that. But
Okay.
bounce light from either side. So yeah, everything just kind of clicked right with this one.
Awesome. Mark, have you got anything to say about this one, mate?
I think this is an absolutely fantastic, fantastic picture, and I love the way you can actually see the missile firing. Like it's a brilliant action photo, and just everything just like Mate was saying, it just really pops, and the way the contrast, even in the kind of gray tones of the X-30 fighter against that really bright explosive backdrop, it's really quite striking. It's an absolutely awesome photo.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And to be quite surprised, mate, I'm surprised this one isn't actually in your top 5. I mean, the 5 that you've chosen, I think are absolutely fantastic as well. What is it about this one then that doesn't quite do it for you, as in terms of making it into your top 5 selection?
I'm not sure if I can nail it down to any one thing, but when you originally asked me to do this and I jumped into my my favorites folder, this was actually the first one that I found. I'm like, oh yeah, this is on the list for sure. And then as I went through and evaluated, I had some criteria. I didn't want them. I mean, I could easily pick all box art or all comics recreation or whatever. So I kind of wanted to do something a little bit different for each one. So that was the first one that I picked. And yeah, the other ones just had something I liked a little bit more.
Okay, cool. So is there any particular order that you want us to show your top 5 in, or are they just your top 5 full stop? It doesn't matter which ones we choose.
They're just my top 5. I'd leave it up to you. There's 2 that one of the 2, either the Eel one or the Rattler Sky Striker one. Those are both very special for very different reasons.
Okay, so what we'll do then is we'll use those ones as the 4th and the 5th one. So we'll keep those 2 till last. So Perfect. What we'll do then is we'll pop this one up first. And so basically, we've got 4 questions for you. So we're going to ask 2 questions each, and we just have you chat about the photo and stuff like that. So the first one we're going to put up is this one here. So that looks pretty cool. What was your thought process or inspiration for this photo?
I wanted to show Cobra Commander like completely unhinged. And I'm not sure how I did it, but there's something about the body language of Mindbender in the background. It's like it's almost a little bit too extreme for the weirdness that he's into, and it's kind of what I was going for subconsciously. And I spent a lot more time getting that helmet to kind of stick up in the air than I did on the posing of the figures in the background. But I was just going for something like a brutal scene, but very vibrant color. So I wanted a big blue sky. It was a nice sunny day, so I got to use that picture window I mentioned earlier. This one was fun for me to try and tell a story and had some weight and gravitas to it. And it's kind of a remake of a similar shot I did with older vintage characters with the original Cobra Commander, the Silver Face, and yeah, the original Hawk.
Okay, cool. Mark, have you got anything to add to this?
It's a spectacular scene. I absolutely love it, and it's a really rich picture as well, because apart from what's front and center with this awesome kind of violent moment, just the way all the actual kind of ancillary background characters are posed, it really just it adds so much to it, because obviously initially you're drawn to this strike that's happening right in front of us, but even just seeing some of these characters, like they're imprisoned in the background, like it looks, if it wasn't for the fact that I knew what I was looking at was toys or were action figures, you would assume it was a still from a movie or a TV show. Like, it looks that good, the way it's lit, you know, just the difference and the scaling of characters in the background and compared to the foreground. It's just, yeah, it's a marvelous picture. Really well done.
Absolutely. And it's hard to believe that we're actually looking at 3 3/4 inch action figures, and that is, do you know what I mean? It's just you've brought it to life there in that picture, and it looks absolutely fantastic. So awesome stuff. Awesome
Thank
stuff.
you.
No worries. Mark, did you want to crack on with the second question, my friend?
Yeah. So, how long did this actually take in terms of like a process? Like, what type of timeline are we talking about for setting something like this up?
This particular shot was really quick because I had the background already done. I had the method that I use for the helmet flying up. It's just some translucent plastic rods and some hot glue, and just kind of get that angle right. And I probably thought about it longer than I actually set it up. So we're talking maybe 45 minutes, an hour if the figures aren't kind of sitting properly. But the fun fact, the background is from recreation of GI Joe 63 that I did, and just had that sitting around on the shelf. So over the years, I've made all kinds of effects and dioramas and whatnot, so I can just mix and match. And sometimes I'll just look at something and go, hey, I want to shoot that diorama. I don't know what I want to put in front of it, but sometimes the shot will start with the diorama. And I think this might have been one of those shots. And I thought, well, I did that old Coco one, the original Hawk. How can I update that with some newer characters and kind of make it fresh?
I mean, with the figures themselves. Oh, sorry, Mark. With the figures themselves,
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
are they quite tight-limbed? I mean, do you have issue with the figures sometimes, and they, you know, falling over, or do you find that quite easy to get them to stand and stay in position?
It depends upon the pose.
Yeah,
I can use hot glue. I like the sticky tack, either blue or the yellow stuff. That works pretty good. On the knees, it's kind of hard because yeah, they don't quite, like the 90-degree bend. They don't quite get their weight back far enough. So you got to do something to kind of make them. But again, you don't want to lean them back. I want that head down kind of pose going on. So it's a compromise between gravity and body language, and see who wins sometimes. But the most difficult one in this photo is Lifeline, because of the smirk on his face. So you got to light him in.
Let's get that back up again.
Yeah, you got to light him in just the way that it hides that corner smirk on his right-hand side. And otherwise, it just looks like he's laughing with whatever's going on. And I've had him photobomb so many shots, just like, I need another character for the background, throw him in last minute, take the shot. And then after I post it, like, oh, he's totally having a laugh at what's going on there.
See, that's incredible, because I wouldn't even think about the look of or expressions on people's faces or the figures' faces to a particular scene. You know, that's incredible that is part of your thought process for that.
Definitely. Duke is another hard one for that. He's known as the jerk face, but yeah, he's got that little grin, like he got away with something naughty or something. And yeah, so you just got to light him a little different and make sure the smirk side's kind of in the shadows. And sometimes it works good, you know, breaking through the clouds with a rocket pack and the flag and whatever. That's great. You can smile all day long for that. But yeah, if you're on a hostage mission or getting taken out by Coco, then you're probably not laughing.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, Mark, I've cut you off earlier. You're going to ask a question, mate, or say something.
Not at all. Yeah, no, I was just curious. So, like, you've nailed the angle perfectly in this picture. Like, it's like it's spot on. But I'm curious, like, did you take multiple shots from different angles of that one scene until you settled, or did you always have that specific shot in your mind's eye
A little bit of neither, actually. The way I compose a shot is all in camera and through the camera. So I found early on that if I set something up, had a picture in my head, set it up the way I thought it would look, and then tried to shoot it, a lot of the action or what I was trying to go for, convey, it wasn't there. And I used to do a lot of drawing and art and whatnot. So I started thinking, well, instead of setting it up the way I used to play with them as a battle scene and then trying to find the angle in there, I'm going to look at it from, creating a picture. So I got my leading lines and my sight lines and the vanishing point and horizon and perspective and all that stuff. So I just set up with that and try to have like a foreground, midground, background, create the depth, and make sure the things that you want to focus on are popping, and things in the background are kind of soft and fading away, and use light and dark to bring things forward and backward and that sort of thing. So yeah, it's really getting the camera in an angle that looks good, but also where gravity's not going to fight me. So a lot of the upward looking shots are actually 45-degree down, so I can shoot them this way and lay my stuff out, like my vertical stuff. I'm actually horizontal.
So with your shots, then I'm guessing you just take that one shot, then you don't take it from different angles or anything like that? No,
it's just the one shot. Yeah, find
Wow.
that real good angle and then build from there.
How difficult is it to get that angle and find that perfect angle for a shot?
Sometimes it's like just not even think about it and just nail it right on. And sometimes you're chasing it, just the slightest little movement, and then your perspective is off, and you lose the motion, you lose the angle, you lose the feel of the shot. And yeah, sometimes I'll do a shot, do it real quick, and think, what, I can do that better. And before I even dump the camera, I'll go back, I'll set it up. It's the same angle. Everything's kind of like, just millimeters. I move one leg of the camera just a little bit and tighten up the focus a little bit. And I go back and I'm like, sure, these ones are like, I know I got it in this set. And then I'm kind of disappointed. And I'll go back to that first set that I thought was not worth it. And yeah, even though maybe the lighting isn't as good as the second time I did it, the effects aren't as good. It's not as popping as well. Just the angle. It's all about that. So 9 times out of 10, I'll go with the better angle over the better composite.
Yeah. Is there a danger of overthinking it?
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. The ones I spend the most time on, think the most about, and spend the most build up time on, usually don't get a lot of attention. The ones are like, what, I'm just going to throw this thing together and see what happens. And those ones tend to do really well.
Awesome. Looking at that photo that you've taken there, is there anything you would change or do differently for that particular picture?
I would have taken out the blowing pieces of paper in the bottom. I used some twist ties to kind of keep those like above Opac's head there. The twist ties just bother me now. The paper's too light, so the light shines through it to see the twist ties on the back. It doesn't really read. It's just kind of noise. It doesn't need to be there. I'd probably get rid of that. Yeah, other than that, no, I'm digging it.
Okay, cool. Mark, do you want to come up with the last question?
Yeah, I suppose so. You've taken a ton of shots, or you've made a great deal of photos. So why does this photo actually crack your top 5? Like, what is it about this particular shot that made it one of your top 5 picks?
The colors, how soft the background is as compared to how vibrant the foreground is. I don't want to say struggle, but I'm consciously trying to go for that balance between really crisp and really soft. Leaving to my own device, I'll probably go with something that's really soft, but that doesn't end up being the best picture in the long run. So, just the juxtaposition between the unhinged brutalness of Coco and the bright blue sky, and just something about that. I like that dichotomy.
Awesome. Right, so that is your first of your top 5. We'll move on to your second. There you go. Look at that. Again, absolutely tremendous. Really liking that. So again, we're going to ask the same questions for each photo. What was your thought process or inspiration for this particular photo?
Well, I love the Mylar. I actually have the box for this, so I look at it every time I go into the Joe room. I don't have a lot of the boxes for most of my collection, but this is one of the exceptions.
Yeah.
And I originally did this shot on my iPhone, my old iPhone 5, I think it was. It was a few versions ago. And so when I got the camera and kind of leveled up as photography skills, then this was one of the ones I always wanted to revisit. And when I did, the sun is hitting everything on the right side of the photo, coming in through the window, just perfect to give a nice bluish kind of contrast to the explosion in the background. Explosion worked out right. Everything's great on this one. Yeah, I was really happy with how this turned out. It was easy to put together, just an explosion in the background, one LED and some hot glue up on the cannon there, and boom. And it's a really odd shot for box art, like the original. Why would you take it from behind? I mean, I guess it's a
Yeah.
motorized vehicle, and you want to convey that in the box art in the picture. But yeah, it's unconventional compared to the other shots or other box art out there.
Yeah. Mark, have you got anything to say about this one, mate?
Yeah, well, I absolutely love it, and I do get what you're saying about the box art and their choice of, I suppose, angle. But when you see your kind of photo recreation of this, I'm actually beginning to appreciate the angle that they took, because, like, in your picture, you see the details on the tank so well, like everything's coming up really crisp and clean. You mentioned that it was a relatively quick shot to set up. How long did it take you to actually get everything together here?
This one again under an hour. The explosion in the background, it's all one piece. It's made of chicken wire and cotton balls and lighting gel or cellophane. And there's a halogen work lamp that I put on a stool inside of that, and then blackout behind it. So that's always like just within arm's length, ready to go near my camera. So yeah, this was under an hour to set up.
So
Canon, the
Oh, sorry,
Canon
Mark, go
has
on.
something. The Canon has like fire coming out of it. Is there an extra effect added on to that, or
Yeah,
what's
that's
going
just
on?
a warm white LED and some hot glue. And I use a lighting system from Model Railroading called Just Plug. So this little tiny little black box, and the LEDs are keyed. You plug into it, but I can solder up my own and make my own lengths or whatever. And then just some hot glue on the end of an LED and stick that on the end, and had the lead come off camera, and that's it.
Is there anything that you would do differently about this this photo, or is anything you would change? You because this one's interesting to me because you said of the angle of the tank and why did they choose that kind of angle? Did it not go through your mind to think, well, what if we took that angle from the front and I took the shot from the front, and that would have given a whole new dimension to that photo? Or did that not enter your mind?
That is an excellent idea, and I'd say that's some higher level thinking, because that did not come into my mind.
Okay. I mean, listen, I only just thought about that because of you saying the box or the angle of the tank on the box itself and why they've gone for that. I just wondered, would that have been an option for you if you could go back and change that shot? What would that shot look like from the front, or were you quite happy with how it is?
Well, I was happy until you mentioned it. Now I want to go back and do that shot from the front. Yeah, I want to put the camera right up by the barrel and have the explosion, close to the camera lens, almost like the shell's
Yeah.
kind of right by you, and yeah, have that long the barrel line lead you down to Recondo on the back there. I think that'd be really neat.
Yeah, I mean, it is it's a fantastic shot either way. It really is. I love what you do, and I just think it's genius how you get your explosions, and again, it just brings it just brings the toy to life, and I really like that, and I like the fact as well that you've got the figures and they're not quite in focus. I think that really adds a lot to the picture as well.
It gives some depth. I'm always
Yeah.
like balancing. Should everything be in focus, or should only a small portion of the photo be in focus? So I'm constantly switching up camera settings depending upon what I'm shooting and what the action is. And I don't really intrinsically know a lot about camera settings, so I'm still just constantly like, what does this do? What does it look like when I do this? And yeah, so
Awesome,
yeah.
awesome.
So
Mark.
So what was it about this particular one that you wanted it in the top 5?
This nailed the box art as far as I'm concerned. This did everything that I wanted to recreate from the box art. It was just a nice balance between the natural sunlight coming in and the LEDs that I'm using, both to light the figure and as the effects. And yeah, this is one of those just magic shots that everything went into place, and I had very little to do with it.
Awesome, awesome. We'll move on to the third one in top 5, and for me, this is my personal favorite. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the others, but this one, I just love this. This is just absolutely mind-blowing. I love that. So what was the thought process or inspiration for this photo?
I had absolutely no ideas when it came to this photo. This is another a good example of my pre-existing dioramas and effects inspiring me to do something, because I'm just standing in my Joe room looking around. I'm like, I want to do a shot. I want to shoot something, and then the explosion in the background, the mushroom cloud there is actually upside down. I made that for a Cobra trouble bubble taking off. Is one of the very first shots I did on Instagram as far as making explosions and doing stage shots. So yeah, it just was sitting in my Joe room with the Cobra Commander and a trouble bubble on it, and but you know what? If I put that upside down, that's going to look like a mushroom cloud.
Yeah.
I can't think of a better vehicle to deliver that kind of payload to Cobra than the Sky Striker. And with the way I framed it, it was, I mean, hanging big jets cantilever off of a dowel arm is kind of difficult and harrowing before the new Sky Striker came out, because I only had one of these guys complete. So I'm putting out a bunch of pillows every time I'm setting them up. And but this one, I just had 2 stands on either side holding the wings off camera, and that held it in place. There's nothing else to rig on the Sky Striker. Just put the light in the explosion in the back. The window's open there. It's a cloudy, overcast day, or the black is open in the window. Cloudy, overcast day to get the background, and that was it. This was really quick.
Awesome, Mark.
I can see why this one would be your favorite, Stu. To be honest with you, it's phenomenal, and it's one of those shots where if I was just like flicking through a magazine or something like that, I would just assume this was a still from a movie. Like it could be something from Top Gun or something. It looks that good, and it's so realistic. Even because when you think about it, like obviously we know what that toy looks like. So in a way, we've got a bit of a leg up when it comes to identifying, you know, that it may not actually be an actual real jet fighter. But honestly, I don't know. I'd say if I was to show that to anybody who's not like a hardcore Joe collector, they just think that was a shot from an action movie, or at the very least like a video game or something. Like it just looks so epic, and the fact that you you managed, or the Mate managed to actually take you know, something that was meant for something else. Like you said, that blast effect was really for the trouble bubble taking off. You've just done a quite little simple thing of inverting it, flipping it's on its head, and now it's the perfect mushroom cloud. It just all comes together to make something beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I listen. I'm really enjoying each and every one of your toy photography photos here, but for me that one really stands out. And I'm guessing the little bit at the bottom there is that the actual windowsill?
No, that is another diorama that I made, just some rocks and whatnot on a flat piece of plywood. It's probably I don't know, like 8 inches by 12 inches. Not very big at all.
Yeah, awesome. Mark,
did that take long to set up?
That would have been the shortest of the few we've seen so far. Probably under half an hour.
Wow. So that kind of lends to what you were saying earlier, where sometimes the best ones kind of come from the least preparation.
Yeah,
that's quite something. No, because look, it's just an epic shot, and you know, if you're able to pull something like that together so quick, then you're a talented man, no doubt.
Absolutely. And I've always wondered why this one was like portrait and not landscape. But as you said, you've got 2 clamps that are holding the wings, and holding it in place. Yeah, see, that would have never crossed my mind to think that's what was holding the plane up, or the jet up, and the reason why you've taken it like this. But yeah, that's I'm just blown away by that. That is absolutely incredible. Is there anything that you would change or do differently for this photo?
Absolutely, yes, 100%. I would have made
really?
sure that, yeah, I would have made sure that landing gear was all the way up and stowed, rather than sticking down that front nose landing gear. You see that there behind the missile? That's just driving me. See a little tire? Right. If you follow the plume of the mushroom straight up to the right missile on the Sky Striker, there's the white door that's hanging down behind the missile, and you see the little tire behind that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I like it.
I'm gonna have to enlarge this.
You gotta look close to see it, but that little thing just drives me. And I didn't notice until I
noticed that. I wouldn't have even noticed that.
Oh, well, it's in shadow too, and the shadow's a very similar color to the background. So the mind just the mind doesn't see it. It just looks like background. But to me, and I know that the spring is missing in my front landing gear, so that's constantly popping down. So yeah, every time I look at this, first thing I see is that thing popping down, and the second thing I see is explosion. I go, you know what? It's okay, because that explosion looks like that.
And what I love about this one as well, it's the it's not the HasLab version, is it? It's the original version. So would that have made a difference using the HasLab version one, do you think, or would it have made any difference at all?
Probably not for this shot. I would have done it the same way, just because doing it in the portrait gets the explosion closer to the action. The HasLab one is a little easier to rig with the way they've got their stand, because you can unscrew that stand and take it apart, and I can glue the stand onto my clamps, and I'd rather do that than glue the actual Sky Striker. So for certain shots, the HasLab one is a little friendlier.
Because you get the missiles as well, don't you? The ones that look like they're actually launching as well. So I guess that would have saved on effects and stuff for you. But then again, would that have been difficult to have lit those up and got the right lighting that you wanted for them and the right effect, or would you?
Those effects look great, but yeah, they're really hard to light. You need a lot of LEDs to run down. Like if it's a long one, you got to run LEDs down that whole thing. The way I do it, my LEDs are inside, so the light is bouncing around all the hot glue, and I only need a couple or even one just to light up the whole thing. But if I'm putting an LED on the outside, then you're just getting that one hot spot and a little tiny bit of glow and the rest of it. So it's difficult to light those up. It's much more efficient for me to just recreate those with a bunch of hot glue.
Yeah, awesome. Mark?
Yeah, so what was it about this one that got it into your top 5?
The explosion. Yeah.
You can't beat a good explosion.
No, it's like I want this to look. I wanted it to look like a mushroom cloud. If it didn't look like a mushroom cloud, then this wouldn't work. The whole thing was based on that looking like a mushroom cloud. I knew I could pull off like just a Sky Striker flying. That's not I've done that, so it's not a big deal. But yeah, making that look right, and with the right light dispersal within the cloud itself, and having it pop without being too dark, and yeah, everything just worked on this with the explosion. So yeah, for me, the explosion is actually the subject of the picture,
and you found that not by accident, because you already had the piece, but you got to thinking of what happens if I turn it upside down. You're quite lucky in that respect. Would it have been difficult for you to have done another one and got it to look like that? Because you'd have had to made another one, I would have guessed, to get that kind of effect.
I would have, and it's entirely possible. I would have, said, "Hey, I want a mushroom explosion." Not even thought about that, and just made something. It would have looked different. With my current thought process, I'd probably just make an explosion from memory. I'd probably make it a lot darker, a lot more smoke. It'd probably be bigger. I probably would have went with the landscape over horizontal, and yeah, so just everything being so quick and not thinking about it on this one ended up with that shot. If I'd thought about it too much, then it wouldn't be the same shot.
Yeah. Do you think that the whole shot would have looked different if you'd have gone landscape and found another way to elevate the Sky Striker? Do you think you would have had a whole different look to that and a whole different feel to the picture.
Definitely.
And
I think it would change the subject. The Sky Striker definitely would have been the focus of that picture,
yeah, yeah,
and the explosion in the background. I mean, just getting all the wings in means the explosions have to go. They're going to have to go back further, and
yeah, yeah.
it's changed the whole feel of it.
So I'm just going to put it up again because I
Yeah.
absolutely love this. Yeah.
I mean, who knows? It might have to, convey the same emotions if it was in landscape. And actually, I might try doing it in landscape sometime soon. That's 2 inspirations I've got from you today. So yeah.
Oh, thank you, thank you. Well, with your last 2, I will let you choose which one of them you want me to put up first. I know which 2 they are, so you let me know which one you would want to go next.
All right, let's go underwater next.
Okay, so what was your thought process or inspiration for this photo? Because I just think it looks absolutely fantastic. That is absolutely stunning.
So I actually had this was a Cobra Sunday shot, and I actually threw it together the morning of the Sunday that I posted it on, and I spent most of the day, probably most of the day Saturday, working on a different Cobra Sunday shot with the classified storm shadow on the coil cycle, shooting an arrow. The arrow's in the air. He's jumping off the cycle, explosion in the background, and everything. That was I had a clear picture in my head for that one. I shot a bunch of different times. I couldn't get it to pop right. I wasn't really liking it. So when I woke up Sunday morning, I thought, you know what? I don't feel good about posting that. I want to post something. I want to do something with the moray, but I don't want to do what everyone else does, just on the top of the water, or your conventional shot. I want it to be underwater. I want to a scuba thing. I want all the eels in there. I don't want any confrontation, no explosions, nothing like that. This is the aftermath, and this shot should raise all kinds of questions. Why did the moray get there? Why are the eels going back? What happened? It's just some intriguing mysteries that I wanted to kind of throw out there. So I thought I'd be able to do this really quick. This was not quick. This took a surprising amount of time. So it ended up being pretty much my entire living room floor. I took a sheet of plastic and covered that all. Got play sand and spread that out in the entire floor, and then rocks and aquarium rocks and all that stuff, and built a huge scene. Once I had the moray in place, then I got the camera involved and tried to decide, okay, where, what angle do I want? I want to be looking down on them. I want the lead lines, all your sight lines going towards the hydrofoil. So then I had to figure out how am I going to get these eels to stand in place. So a couple of them were kind of close to the edges, so you cantilever them off the edges. The one in the bottom right-hand corner, he is actually being held up from a shish kebab skewer that's coming out of the sand and coming straight up at him. And
oh wow.
So this ended up being really involved, and so I got everything framed. I got it in the camera. I got the way I want it to look, and now I have to light it. And we're a good 4 hours into it now, and I'm just starting to light it. So what does it look like underwater? I don't spend a lot of time there, but just think about what I see on TV and how they might do underwater shots that aren't necessarily underwater on TV. And thought, well, if I want the light to look like it's underwater, I got to put the light underwater. So I got a big clear Pyrex container, and I put it on a stand, and I took my light and I shined that light through the Pyrex container. And as I'm hitting the camera, I'm kicking the stand that the tray is on, and that's making the water kind of slosh around a bit, and that gets the little watery trail things happening on the sand. And I mean, the rest of the lights was just lights from over above, but yeah, just behind the moray, there's a little bit of lighter blues, and then the bottom left-hand corner, some lighter blues there, and a few little speculars happening on the moray. And yeah, that was all from just an LED shining through a pan of water.
Wow. Mark?
Unbelievable. And look, you know what? I know I'm jumping ahead a little bit to my question, but I am really, really glad that you said this actually took you a long time to set up, because if you had said that you had just thrown this together in a few minutes, I probably would have just quit toy photography straight away because there is no way. Because this is so good, man. You're a genius. You're an actual
Oh wow.
genius. And even just using the skewers, I'm guessing that are you like kind of fitting the end of the skewer in between like the connecting to the O-ring? Like is that where it's kind of balancing to
Yeah,
kind
like
of
it's
get
kind of
that
sandwiched
angle?
in there a bit, and then a little hot glue just to ensure that the O-ring doesn't snap it out. And
Like that's genius. And even just to come up with that idea to get that angle for that shot is fantastic. And everything here is just coming together to make like a perfect picture. Even the way the hydrofoil is kind of
Yeah.
semi-submerged in the sand
Mm.
below, you can see wreckage scattered about. Like it's once again, if it wasn't for the fact that we are toy collectors and are familiar with looking at these as toys, somebody would just take a glance at this and think it was like a shot from a movie or something of divers,
Absolutely.
going to wreckage.
Absolutely.
It looks that good.
And again, you got the focus spot on as well, because it's not all in focus. You know, the hydrofoil, some of it towards the back is slightly out of focus, but it concentrates. I mean, I'm seeing the two guys at the front here, the eels and stuff like that, and you know, you can't see them fully, but I mean, you know who they are, and it does. It just looks absolutely fantastic, and the illusion. I don't want to think of the illusion that it's on your living room floor. That is just insane, absolutely insane. I can't. I was just. That is incredible, man. Absolutely incredible. Awesome job.
thank you.
Listen. You must get a real sense of pride when you do a picture and it comes out that good. You must think,
Yeah,
you know,
this was the exception. I mean, like I mentioned before, a lot of times the more effort or thought that I put in, and the less well it does. But this one, like I don't know. I woke up. I wasn't satisfied with the work I had done before. I was just inspired to do this shot, but I didn't want it to be. Um, I keep using the word conventional, but
mm,
like a shot of an eel, you'd think it's going to be face on. You want to see his
yeah,
face. You want to see the cobra symbol. You know, you want a nice silhouette. You want to know that it's an eel right away. I didn't want to do that. I wanted an underwater shot. I wanted an eel shot. I want the moray in there, but I want to tell a story. I didn't want the shot to be about one specific person. I want it to
yeah,
be about the action, about uh, what is actually happening, or the scene, or the situation, as
yeah,
opposed to just taking a shot of a
mm,
Cobra soldier or a scuba diver or whatnot. So, yeah,
yeah,
there had to be more than one eel in the picture, and I didn't want them face on. I wanted them going away from the camera, almost as if you're from the perspective of a fourth eel.
yeah, yeah. I love it, and I love the way it's portrait and not landscape, because you know, see, when you were saying about your last shot, which was landscape, I think this is again, I think it works so well, and I think it would look a totally different sort of like picture if it was portrait. So, is there anything that you would change or do differently for this photo?
No, not this one.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Mark?
It's probably and like with my question, I'm sure we can all guess why this cracks your top five. Like it's an
Yeah.
absolutely excellent photo. I think even I think most people would agree that, whether you like Joe, whether you don't like Joe, or if you just like, toys in general, like it's just an absolutely awesome picture.
Yeah. So what was it? I mean, you come on, you got to give us the reason why is this in your top five? I mean, we know it, but we want to hear you say it.
It's
Would you say that was? Would you say that is the perfect shot?
it's as perfect as I am capable of doing as a human being,
Yeah.
and I am happy with that level of perfect. Normally, I want to strive and do better, but if I never do a shot that's as good as this again, I'm okay, because I did that. I did it once, and it's over a year later, and I'm still very happy with the result.
The setup
Awesome.
was incredibly clever, and like I mentioned, like you're a genius really for having the kind of thought process and kind of foresight to put that together. And it's the type of thing, like I would usually not attempt something like that, because if I was trying to, picture like an underwater scenario, I wouldn't have, up until now, until speaking to you, I wouldn't have really known how to even approach a subject like that. You'd probably find me like with a bucket of water trying to like drop figures down and like take a photo standing on it. So for you to come up with now something like this, that would even get my mind thinking now, maybe I could take a chance at trying to create something, knowing that there's so many different ways you could pull this off, and you just pulled it off in an ingenious way. Like that just comes together perfectly.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, so we've got one more then, and this is the last picture or photo. So here we go. Again, absolutely incredible. Wow. What was your thought process or inspiration for this photo?
I love this issue of the comic. I love the story, and the art, just everything about this. I love the toys. Ace and Wild Weasel, Cobra Rattler is iconic. The Sky Striker, iconic. And yeah, I just want to recreate that scene from the comic, and this is what happened.
Wow. Mark?
It actually looks like there's like real flames here. It's pretty amazing. I actually nearly felt bad for a moment, because I thought you might have melted your rattler there just to get this done. But no, this looks absolutely awesome, and it's an excellent recreation of that famous piece of comic book art. Like you really nailed it. It's spectacular, and I'm just going to guess. I could be wrong here. The cloud, is the cloud like cotton, or how did you manage to?
The cloud is pillow stuffing.
That looks amazing. That
Wow.
looks amazing. And what about then the actual smoke that's coming from the damage?
The smoke is cotton. Yeah, I made that the same way I do the explosions and that sort of thing. So it's a really small, like chicken wire frame that kind of just the bullet hole clip that you put on the Rattler. You can take that side panel off and put on the one with the bullet holes on it. I made that effect so it kind of clips into those bullet holes, and the smoke itself actually wraps around, so it holds on to the tail of the Rattler. And this scene is actually still, well, not with the clouds and everything, but the effects and whatnot. That's how it's displayed in my my toy room.
Awesome. Oh wow! So, Mark, did you want to next question?
Yeah, well, like how long did this actually take to set up? Because it looks pretty complex, and I'm just kind of curious as to how long this kind of process took.
This was 3 days.
Oh wow!
3 days of nothing but sleep, eat, and make this shot. So the first day was just rigging, just building set pieces. The Rattler is hung. I used a couple of A-frame ladders on either side of the shot with a piece of wood between the two of them. And I've got fishing wire coming down to hang the Rattler. The cloud in the top left, just above the Rattler, is actually just there to hide the fishing wire. And the Sky Striker is held with a mic stand. So all the clouds that are on the right side of the picture behind Ace, behind the Sky Striker, are actually hiding the stand that comes down and grabs onto the gas tank of the Sky Striker. So that's what holds that. And all the other clouds in the picture are just hiding the rigging, or where I'm using a projector to project onto a white wall. And that's where you get kind of the blues and the pinks in the background. And some of it's hitting the clouds, so you get some of that sky stuff in the clouds and whatnot. But the projector, because the angle was so skewed and keystoned, I couldn't fill the whole wall with the image, so I had to build a whole bunch of clouds just to hide the part that I couldn't. So anyway, the first day was just building. The second day was effects and lighting and wiring and everything, and then hiding all the wires again. And then the third day was getting the camera in spot and tweaking the lighting, getting the shot, and Yeah, so it was probably 18 hours each day.
Wow.
Wow.
Well, it
Wow. That is
shows.
incredible.
It does show. Like, because once again, it's kind of how you think about it and how you manage to put it together. Because if I was looking at that piece of art from the comic and then I went to set about trying to recreate it, like I'd never really I don't think I'd ever be able to put it together. I'd probably be trying to lay the stuff flat and create the illusion that it was, but like you've totally like nailed it. And like the fact that you actually have the vehicle suspended in that and then made the smoke effects yourself. It's just
Mm,
yeah, I can see all the work that went into it, and
yeah,
obviously worth
absolutely.
it because it's an amazing picture.
Yeah. And what I like as well is that you've got in the corner pieces here, you've got the Wild Weasel and Ace, and they're doing that salute to each other. I just think that's absolutely awesome. And were they in the cockpit when you took those photos?
Yes, yeah, you can
Yeah.
see the cockpit for the Rattler. Wild Weasel's there, kind of upside down, just barely hanging in because there's no seatbelts in that thing.
Yeah.
And it's kind of because of the reflection, you can't really read that Lady J's in the back with Ace, and that the Baroness is in the gunner seat there with.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, they're
Yeah.
they're all in there, and then I left them in that position. So to get now, it was the iPhone. I didn't use a camera for this one. I used my iPhone for this, so
What?
I could actually get the iPhone in to take the picture of Ace
Oh, okay. Yeah.
and Wild Weasel where they were. So this is one of
Mm.
the actually it is the oldest shot in my top five. It's probably 5 years ago now that I did that,
Wow.
but
Wow.
there was just something special, using the iPhone instead of the camera. This is before I even owned the camera. So,
Mm.
yeah, it was a lot of planning went into this. It was a big
Yeah.
build. And then
Mm.
to get something that I was happy with, that looked right. Yeah, this turned out really
Yeah.
well.
So you saying that it was 5 years ago, is there anything now that you would change or do differently for this photo? Because you've got, like I say, updated technology with your cameras and whatnot, and or were you happy just to leave that one as is?
Part of me would like to redo it with with the new camera and my
Mm.
new blast effects, and maybe less clouds, or find a different way to rig them so I don't have to hide all the rigging and all that. But there's another part of me that doesn't have that stamina anymore, so I
Fair enough.
I don't know if that's going to happen anytime soon.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
so what is it then that puts this one? Because it's not just in your top five, I guess we could nearly even call it your number one. What is
Yeah.
it about this one that makes it so special?
This one's it's on that soft side that I spoke of earlier. I like the colors. When recreating comics, comic shots, and box art, I don't get to pick the colors. The colors are what's there. So I
Mm.
can't use any color theory or anything like that. It's kind of, you got to use with or work with what you got. But the projector that I used was on the last legs. I was really lucky to get it to turn on that day. Um, so it was just one of those things. My method for hanging everything, it worked out. Those clouds were never the same way 2 days in a row. So every day I came back to it, gravity had pulled some things down, or me and my clown shoes, and I'd hit a stand and something would fall, and then have to reset them up, and then the projector wouldn't hit the clouds as well,
Mm.
and yeah. So with this one, it took a lot of time, but everything fell into place, and I achieved what I was hoping for with this.
Yeah, no, honest to God, absolute quality, and every single one of your photos have just been top class. They really have, and like Mark said before, you would think that they were from a movie, this a still shot from a movie and stuff like that. And I think genius was used. I would agree with that. I just to have the eye, the thought process, the ability to be able to pull the shot off is just absolutely phenomenal. And like you say, both yourself and Mark are photographers, and you're two totally very different photographers in the sense that you go you do quality work, but you do it in a different way. Mark's more like outside natural and stuff like that, and some of the realism to his photos, and I just think you're both absolute awesome with your photography, and I just wish I had the eye for it. I really do, and stuff like that. And I can't praise you both enough, really. But absolute top guys for your photography. So and mate, it was an absolute pleasure getting to chat with you again and getting a real deeper insight into your thought processes behind your photos and stuff like that. Because I know we spoke previously on My Collecting Life, but that was more about your collection and you sort of like touched on your photography. But to hear you go through your processes for your photography and a more in-depth look into it, I just find it absolutely fascinating. I don't know what about you, Mark? What are your thoughts, overall thoughts?
Well, it's definitely given me a lot of food for thought in terms of, even though I usually do more outdoor stuff, I do still from time to time like to set up some indoor shots. And I think looking at Mate's work today and hearing him describe how he set up some of these things, it would definitely give me food for thought in my own kind of process for taking photos. That, you know, look, maybe it's time I started thinking outside the box and actually looking at things a different way, and working out how. Now, don't get me wrong. Mate has a couple of things that I don't have, and that's talent is probably being one of them. So, but no, seriously, because like I imagine it like the way when you were kind of rhyming off the different things you do, like with the hot glue and the effects and different things, like you're clearly quite skilled and adept at actually you know, making, you know, physical props and things like that to aid you. So, you know, I think that should be commended as well. Like, you're not
Yeah,
simply just plopping a toy down and taking a photo of it. You're actually physically building you know, the world, or at least part of the world, and what you're showing in the shot. So look, man, I have to say I'm really impressed with your stuff, and I'm delighted Stu put me on to your work, because I've been drooling over your Instagram as well, which has many more excellent pictures. So I
Wow.
would definitely advise anybody who's watching this show today, go check out Mate on Instagram. His stuff is
absolutely.
absolutely amazing.
Absolutely. I've just got one final question for you, mate. How difficult was it for you, of all the pictures that you've taken, to choose a top 5, or was it kind of straightforward for you?
It, you know what? It was hard to narrow them down. The first two I knew pretty much
Yeah.
immediately, and like I have a few pictures. There's a number of pictures in that favorites folder, so it was a little bit of a daunting task, because I like to be thorough when I do things, and I like to be complete. So I was like, I
Mm.
have to look at every one of these photos and individually and vet them, and, you know, create a criteria. And then I thought, you know what? No, I can just do this. This is about my personal top fave, so I'm
Yeah,
just going to
absolutely. Yeah.
go with emotion. And so I named them creatively so I could skip through them pretty quick and know which ones were which. And some names I hadn't seen or recognized in a while, and I popped those up, and oh yeah, you know, so it was kind of a trip down memory lane. But yeah, it wasn't super hard. Didn't take a ton of time, but
Mm.
it was a little more of a thought process than I originally
Yeah.
imagined.
No, well, I've thoroughly enjoyed viewing your photos and learning the processes and, you know, your thoughts on them and stuff like that. And yeah, absolute quality. And, you know, like BobaHicks said, if any of you watching want to see more of Mate's photography, then, you know, look him up on Instagram. And what I'll do is, again, I'll leave your Instagram link in the description below, and the same with you, Mark, as well. I'll leave your Instagram link as well, because I had the you know, the pleasure of looking through yours, trying to find a certain photograph yesterday, and I was just like, yeah, blown away by your photography. So both of you, thank you very much for being part of this. It's been absolutely quality. Mark, you've been an awesome co-host, and we definitely get another one of these up and running at some point in the future for sure. I love talking about this kind of thing, mate. What an awesome guest, mate. Thank you so
Thank
much. I really
you.
do appreciate it. For all of those who have stayed to the end to watch, really do appreciate it. Thank you so much. Take care, stay safe, and we shall see you in the next video. And bye for now.